So today I want to talk about something that's important to me, and something for most people is not important because it's not part of their reality. It's not part of their day-to-day life. But for me, it's really important. And what I want to talk about today is actually being gay in corporate life. I'm really lucky. I live in a country where being gay doesn't matter. That being said, being gay in corporate life is not always easy. Most people would think it is, and most people know that I'm gay, but actually it was a decision that I had to make initially. Do I want to be myself? Do I want to come out? Do I want to be confronted to skepticism or preconceptions if I come out at work? And from the get-go, I was always out at the office. Everybody who knows me knows who I am, knows that I'm married to a woman and that I have 2 children with her. That being said, coming out at work is not always easy. Some people like me work in very large companies, and when you have colleagues around the world, it becomes, or at least it can become, quite tricky because sometimes you have to come out to colleagues from different cultures or colleagues that where they're from. Being gay is not the norm. It is not something people talk about, and definitely not something people would say in a work environment. This has actually happened to me. I didn't have to, but I chose to come out to some colleagues that came from different countries where being gay is not as accepted as it is in Denmark. And the reaction I had was not always pleasant. I was met with very cold silence, with the incapacity of my colleague to know what to answer. Not because they're homophobic or because they suddenly didn't like me anymore, but simply because I came up with a piece of information that was unexpected to them, that was a surprise, and that was also difficult to digest because it's not something people talk about where they're from, especially not in an office. And this has happened to me more than once in the many years I've had now in corporate life. And I don't think we talk a lot about this. We don't talk about how when you're having a casual conversation with a colleague and they're suddenly asking, oh, so what does your husband do? I'm stuck for a moment being like, oh no, am I going to come out now? Should I compromise my identity and pretend I have a husband when I have a wife? Should I just say, no, I'm sorry, I actually have a wife and 2 children? So for myself, I made the rule that every time I say, oh, I don't have a husband, I have a wife. And I've actually had to also explain what that means to some colleagues. You know, I've been met with colleagues looking at me saying, what do you mean you have a wife? And me being like, I'm married to a woman. I'm gay. And the silence now that I just created, that's the silence I was met with. So I think it's really important for organizations globally, especially the ones that are across multiple cultures, that have employees of diverse backgrounds, to support the various communities within corporate life. Because there are people like me that chose to be out at work. And it's not easy to be met. It's not easy for me to come out, but it's actually not easy for my colleagues to know how to react to this. Not because they're mean or not accepting, just because I'm presenting to them a reality they didn't expect. I think it's very important for corporations to support people like me who want to be out at work, and also support people that are in cultures where this is not common, so that they're better equipped to know how to react when their colleagues say, hey, by the way, I'm gay. And I think that's something we need to work on.